another Singer Spotlight. I'm vocal coach Jaime Vendera, and today I'm here with DiMuzio. I'm going to like this interview because he's actually on a cruise ship. You can hear all the lively people in the background, so it gives a kind of a cool flavor that we haven't had so far. So, David, I really want to start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself. I want to know who you are, where you're from, how old you are, what you're into singing, stuff like that.
Cool. Well, I'm 28 years old. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. Then I moved to Nashville. I lived there for about 5 years, and then moved to the Philippines. I was there for about 3 years, and then now I'm based out of New York City. And I'm a professional entertainer, singer, and guitar player, songwriter, all that stuff.
So I know that you're on a cruise ship, which we'll kind of get into that in a minute, but I do want to know beforehand, like, how did you get started in singing? Like, and how old were you, and what inspired you, and all that good stuff?
Well, I started as a songwriter when I was like 11. I wanted to be a songwriter. My favorite artist is Billy Joel, and so I actually thought when I was around 11 years old that, oh, if I become a songwriter, Billy Joel's a songwriter too. I can meet him someday, and he's my hero. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, my dad played me Billy Joel records. I've been a huge fan. So then I, at some point, realized that the best chance I had of me kind of like getting my songs out was if I actually started singing them and learned how to play guitar and kind of arrange them and everything. So like singing and guitar playing were sort of secondary to me. And I guess guitar playing came along first, started working at becoming good at that. And then when I went to record my first album, which was in Nashville about 6 or 7 years ago, I got vocal lessons for the first time. And that's where I finally realized, like, okay, I guess I actually have to learn how to sing. And it's sort of been a journey since then.
Absolutely. So you are on a cruise ship.
Well, actually, right now I'm in Busan. I'm actually in Busan, South Korea.
Okay.
So at the moment, I'm performing as a headliner on a cruise ship. They bring on different headline entertainers from all around the world. It's the largest cruise ship in Asia, but we go into port every day. So every day we're in a different country.
Wow.
So actually today I'm in a coffee shop in Busan, South Korea.
And so you're on an Asian cruise line. Are you singing in English, or are you singing in Chinese, or what are you doing?
I'm singing in Chinese. So I speak and sing 100% fluent Chinese in my show, and it's a really great niche.
How long did it? I mean, have you studied Chinese your entire life, or just from being in the Philippines you started learning a different language?
Well, no. I speak also Tagalog, or Filipino. I speak Filipino as well, but Chinese is completely different. They don't speak Chinese in the Philippines.
Okay, well,
I started learning. I started learning Chinese. Actually, I dated a Chinese girl about 6 or 7 years ago, and she's American Chinese, but she loved this one Chinese song. It was like her favorite song called Tonghua, which means fairy tale. It's a huge hit in China. And so I learned the song just sort of like by memorization of just listening to the sounds for her. And I learned one other song for her as well, another Chinese song. Then I got an offer to perform over here. And I was like, oh, at that time I didn't really speak much Chinese. I just knew how to say, like, good evening, what's my name, what's your name, like really basic. And then I knew these 2 songs that I learned from my ex-girlfriend. So I performed them. I said, oh, I'll put them in my show. I remember those songs, and now it's all Chinese people. And I did it, and it blew up. Like, the audience went crazy, They love, like, this white guy singing in Chinese. And I've always had a knack for, like, sort of enunciating and pronouncing languages correctly. Like, I'm pretty good at that. So I got lots of offers, like, right after that. And then since then, I've started actually learning how to speak in Chinese.
Well, I've been to China twice, but I think I can say shishi. They taught me a line when I was doing the show, and I forgot it when I went up on stage. So how is it to sing in Chinese as compared to English? Is it, how, like, in Spanish, just kind of floats from your voice? How is it with Chinese? Do you feel like it's easier to sing in Chinese than in English, or is it about the same?
I would say it's probably easier for me to sing in English, just being my first language. The other thing is, I guess, the thing that actually makes it more difficult from like a vocal perspective is that when I'm singing in Chinese or in Filipino or Indonesian or Japanese, I sing in a bunch of different languages. When I'm singing in those languages, I concentrate on pronouncing the words correctly because I'm not a fluent speaker I'm not like a native speaker of those languages, right? Mm-hmm. So when I sing in English, you can take a lot more sort of liberties with the sounds of the vowels So for instance, like you don't have to say like love, you can say love. You know, you can say love. You can move it around, like, because it doesn't matter really, you know. But when you're singing in Chinese, like, I really have to concentrate on. I concentrate too much, I think, on trying to sing it correctly, and
But
so sometimes you lose the vocal tract, you know.
but you know, I wonder if focusing on the pure vowel actually takes. You know how some singers they get so caught up on, am I hitting the pitch? Is the tone right? Maybe that actually helps you to kind of forget about those other things and kind of lock in with the song and just be free. I mean, maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but
It could.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it's more like, okay, for instance, E's. Like E's are kind of, it's harder to sing like a hard E, right? Versus than like an eh, you know, to get like a big sound. But then in Chinese, like I wouldn't, like if you're gonna say like ni is what? I'm sorry, is you. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
an idiot. Ni is you. Then I wouldn't say like if I was gonna say, I wouldn't say ne, because then it wouldn't be right. You know what I mean? Versus
Absolutely.
in English, I would feel more like I was entitled to change the vowel a little bit to give it a sort of a different, bigger sound. You know?
Yeah, we are the language of sloppy freedom.
Yes, so that's really nice.
So you don't have a band. You're actually performing as a solo artist. Now, what do you have as your backing band? Is it a symphony? Is it just a guitarist, a bass player, drummer?
It's an orchestra, so there are 2 trumpet players, 2 saxophone players, trombone, guitarist, bassist, keyboardist, drummer.
And how long have you been doing this gig?
I've actually been performing professionally on cruises for almost 11 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, for a long time. But I've done lots of other things in between. But my first ever like headline gig on a cruise ship was 11 years ago, and that was doing something completely different. I won the world championships in juggling when I was a kid, and so my first ever gig on a cruise ship was as a professional juggler. So transitioned from juggler to singer.
Wow, wow. Well, do you? I know you said you did an album a few years ago. Do you have anything new coming out soon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly I've stopped putting out albums, so I've released like 3 or 4 albums now. 4. It's been 4. But I just put out singles, so I just release songs with music videos. I kind of think the whole like album format is, I don't know, for a little bit.
David, do you go into a professional studio, or are you now, since you're getting accustomed to this, do you do a lot of recording on your own?
I do a lot more on my own, but it's more of a collaborative effort. So I actually I get my tracks done by a guy in Austin. Then I record the acoustic guitars myself, just wherever I'm at, like with my I have a little Apogee duet. Then I record vocals myself, send him back the guitars and vocals, and then he sends all those tracks to a guy in Nashville who mixes everything.
Well, so this is kind of off topic, but can we talk about you recording vocals on your own, because a lot of singers have trouble with that. I like to know your vocal line, like what mic are you using? Do you use compression? Do you bypass EQ? How are you getting into your computer?
Okay, I use an Apogee Duet, and the mic that I use is a ADK. Oh man, I forget. It's like their most popular mic. I think it's like a A10 or something. I forget the model actually off the top of my head, but it's ADK. ADK makes really great, like fairly inexpensive microphones. I think it's about a $200, $250 microphone.
Wow. I love hearing this because you're proving to me you don't need a $5,000 microphone to have a really good vocal performance.
Not at all. For sure. And I've realized there's a lot of, I think even like Steve Perry or Tom Petty, one of those guys records with just a SM57.
Yeah, I know. The singer from Priest, Rob Halford. That's what he used to do on a lot of the albums, just a 57.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not even a condenser mic. One of the guys, I forget which, but one of these famous singers, he was saying, hey, I use that live, and it sounds great live, so why would I not use it on the album? So, no, I've realized that, and one of the comments that I get a ton on my YouTube channel is people are like, oh, what kind of guitar strings do you use? What kind of, mics do you use? What kind of everything? And I'm like, man, that's really not that important, Like, that's not what you should worry about. If you have great talent, like, you should spend time practicing, you know what I mean? Finding a great teacher. I mean, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that's the Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah, finding a great teacher. That's the most important thing, I think, to becoming great at anything.
And like, so you got your mic and you're going into computer. Do you just use your preamp or do you use compression or anything like that?
Well, the Apogee, it is a preamp, sort of.
Okay.
I mean, it has preamps built into it. So, but I just go straight from that into Logic. And I don't really worry about the way that the actual vocal sounds so much going in, because it's going to get mixed anyway. So I really just, like, we'll say, like, I don't worry about the EQs or any of that kind of stuff, because all of that stuff is mixed, you know?
And you just got the level low enough so it don't spike. You know,
Yeah,
so a lot of people.
Exactly.
I wish I could get away with that. I screamed so loud, man. The preamp was to blow up, so I had to do compression. Okay, so you've been doing this gig, you know, different things for you know, 11 years. You've been doing other things. Stage fright. You ever had stage fright? Have you gotten over it? Do you still have it? How do you deal with it?
Actually, I love stage fright. And I've never really had a lot of stage fright, but I love the feeling. Actually, my favorite gigs are the ones that I'm really nervous about, because I don't know. It's like that's energy. You know what I mean? It's like that's excitement. So like I kind of like crave being nervous to go on stage, because I'm not usually that nervous. You know.
That is the best answer I have ever heard in any of these interviews, or anyone I've asked them, like, you get it. People don't understand that that is your nervous energy. That's that excitement. But it's how we view it. You know, we can either get nervous or we can be pumped up. So love that. What is your warm-up routine like before your shows?
Well, and this is something that I've learned from you just recently, and like in the last couple of weeks, that I love, is I've started doing the whole vocal. What do you call it? Vocal
Stress
RX.
release.
Yeah, stress release. Vocal RX. Yeah,
you talking about the stretches or the?
Yeah, I do all. No, well that stuff I've done for quite a while, is the burbles and things.
Okay.
But I just doing all the neck stretches and all that tongue stuff, and getting here the TMJ and massaging this, the neck and all that. That's something that I really like. I've learned from you, and it's really made a noticeable difference. Like, I've noticed in my warm-up that as soon as I'm finished with that whole initial stretch, I just already feel good. You know what I mean? I already feel like ready to sing.
That is good. So you just been doing it for a couple weeks. So let's kind of rewind to the first time you did it and then you performed. When you were on stage, did you like, wow, this I feel a little more open, or was it just like the initial thing right before?
Yeah, it's more like the initial warm-up itself felt like, it just felt like it happened faster. You know what I mean? Sometimes you go to do your warm-up and like it just takes a while to get into it, you know? It just takes like a few exercises before it even really feels like it's starting to warm up. But when I did that, I already felt really loose, and I already felt like the warm-up felt good from the very beginning. So that made a huge difference. I mean, I always do a lot of warm-ups before I go on stage anyway, because I don't want to go on stage until I feel, you know, like my voice is all stretched out.
Gotcha. So practice. I know you're busy. You said you perform once every 5 days. Are you doing any vocal exercises, or is your practice just mainly going over your Chinese songs, or what is like practice for you? Vocal practice.
Well, I would only say, now I had my first vocal coach about 6 or 7 years ago, and it made a difference. But I've got to be honest, and I won't say his name, because he's actually one of the more popular vocal coaches in Nashville. So I was highly recommended, and he did make a difference to the way that I sang. But looking back now, knowing what I know about singing and how to sing, I think he kind of took me down totally the wrong path, you know. So then I got another famous Nashville coach's lessons, Brett Manning. I'll actually say his name because he's really famous.
Brett's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
So yeah, I got Brett Manning's stuff, and I started doing his lessons. Honestly, I did those lessons for 2 years, and I did about every other day for 2 years. And the SLS style, it teaches you how to bridge like your low and high resonances. Like, it teaches you that, but it doesn't really teach you at all how to actually have a big voice. And I'm kind of like anti-SLS now, since coming from doing that for 2 years. I look at that, I'm like, man, that was like not a wasted 2 years, but I could have accomplished what I learned from doing that for 2 years in about like 3 months. So I basically finished this, and I was like, okay, I can do every single exercise perfectly. Like at the end of those 2 years doing this singing success program, and I did the whole mastering your mix program and all that stuff, I could do every exercise perfectly, but my voice still didn't sound big, and that was really annoying, you know? So then I started studying open throat technique, and it just completely like changed everything, you know? And even being able to sing and practice more often, now I practice daily. Like, and every day I feel like my voice gets bigger every day, you know?
But I want to interject really quick, just because everyone knows I love Brett and I'm a big fan of his. SLS, I mean, it is a style, you know, and it's really good for pop and stuff. I love Brett's programs. You know, I've praised him. He's a good friend. I've actually learned a lot from Brett. But, yeah, I know it's like the mixed voice, and if you want a full voice, I know there are other approaches like opera technique and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with SLS. But, you know, just like my program, it may not work for some people where SLS will work better. But, you know, just because I got to give a shout-out to Brett because I do love him.
Okay. Yeah, I actually know Brett personally as well. I mean, I'm only saying that not to slam him as a guy. He's a super nice guy. Like, hung out with him in Nashville a few times, but honestly, I'm not a big fan of this style. Having mastered the program, and I really feel like I can say that because I spent a ridiculous amount of time with it, but it just doesn't teach you how to sound. Like, if you want to sound like Michael Bolton or Bryan Adams or like Steven Tyler or basically anybody that has a huge, like, big voice, you shouldn't study that style because you will not sound like that, you know, with like an SLS kind of like technique, you know, because you just bridge too early. You go into your like head voice too early. They don't teach you to kind of stretch out and like, I don't know, just the way you open your throat, because it's just the opposite, right? I mean, what do you think? What's your opinion? I think that it teaches you to close up your voice.
I don't have a lot of, because I only did Brett Scales and I never studied Seth Riggs or anything. I only have a lot of, with the open throat technique, because I study with Jim Gillette, Thomas Appel, Elizabeth Sabine. So for me, especially being a bass, I don't know if you've heard of me singing on YouTube or anything, I just have a really full, loud voice. It doesn't hurt, you know. I'm not shouting, but I don't really bridge and connect, because to me, the way that I've been taught and the way that I teach, it's all one voice. You don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hit tenor C's, tenor D's, soprano A's, and sound just as full and resonant as you do on a middle C. So it's just, you know, it's just, that's how I was trained. So speaking of how I was trained, how did you find out about me? I'm always curious.
Through YouTube.
And like, has it been recently, a year or two ago?
Let me see. Probably about a year ago. It was actually when it was about a year ago, because it was actually when I finished, like I told you, I did this SLS program for like about 2 years, and I basically got to a point, where I said, okay, I can do all these programs, I still don't like the way that I sound. Like I still can't sing like my idols, you know? Like, and so I went on YouTube, and I just basically watched every vocal coach's videos on YouTube, and I was like, there's got to be like secrets out there. There's got to be something else, you know? And yeah, you were one of the ones that I came across that I started watching your videos. I subscribed to your, you know, I'm on your email list. I did the whole like I think you have a 5-step video.
Five essential elements.
Yep. Yeah, so I watched all of those, and yeah, you were one of the ones that I was like, okay, like I think this guy's got more to teach me. So yeah, that's when I started, and I bought your book, all the lessons, everything like that. So I mean, I basically, once I found like a few different guys on YouTube that I thought, okay, like this seems like the real deal, and I basically went and bought all of their stuff, and I was like, I want to learn everything I possibly can. Like, there's got to be, this has got to be doable. You know what I mean? I need to find the right teacher or teachers. So
you got the book. You started changing kind of the way that you approached it, started practicing a different way, different exercises. How or what have you learned from me? How has it changed? Can you do the Michael Bolton stuff now? Do you have more range? Do you feel like your voice is fuller? I mean, how has it helped your training?
Well, I still can't sing like Michael Bolton, unfortunately.
You got to really push now.
Can anyone sing like Michael Bolton? I don't think. I think honestly, he's like the best. He's like the best.
You got to get those veins popping in your neck. love Michael Bolton's voice, but
he's insane.
I see a lot of tension, but it's amazing singer by far.
Yeah.
But how has it helped you? I mean, now that you've changed, you know, directions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that, like, because I've really tried to take, like, a few different teachers that I found and try and take what I felt like was the best aspects of all of them, you know?
Good.
And so there's like these aspects of the way that you do things that that I really like, and those aspects are like I feel like you get into more of the nuances of things.
Hmm.
So I want another. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about. We've already brought up Brett.
No, I'm cool with
So
it.
like whatever. Okay.
I
So
support a lot of coaches. That's fine.
yeah. So Ken Tamplin is one that I bought his program as well as yours, and so Ken, he really is like the nuts and bolts of singing. Like he doesn't get a lot into nuances of things. Like he's not like so. It's very like straight ahead. Like just do this stuff. That's all there is, and like that's it. You know, just do this. That's it, and you'll be a great singer. And there's a lot of truth to what he says. I think that he really studies, like I said, like the nuts and bolts. But then you have these other aspects, as well as you teach a lot of the same types of things that Ken does in a good way, that I really like, which is more like taking care of your voice. Like I really like how you study a lot with that. So I got into from you the vocal. What's the guy? The guy who sells the sprays and all this kind of
Superior
stuff.
Vocal Health.
Yeah, superior vocal health. Yep. So I got into superior vocal health thing. Yeah, and then also the neti pot. I do that because of you. So I do the neti pot daily. Now
Well,
I
you
and I
need
saw
to,
that.
especially with what you're doing, being on the cruise. You have to stay in definitely good shape.
Yeah, you got to really take care of yourself, and I really admire the way that you focus on that. So yeah, that's the thing that I change. Another thing that I do daily that's part of my life because of you is the actually I heard this during the vocal health. I actually drink cayenne pepper in my tea.
Good.
So I do the hot water when sorry, warm water or hot like tea. It's usually like not
Yeah.
hot by the
I
time I
drink
drink
hot
it.
all the time, so it's fine
Okay.
for you.
Well, I mean, it's not going to burn my throat, but you know what I mean. So I drink tea now when I'm practicing, and that was one of the things that you recommended doing. And then I put cayenne pepper in my tea, which actually now tastes really good. I love the way that it tastes. So I just like shake cayenne pepper on it, and I got that from Superior Vocal Health, and I started looking up the benefits of cayenne pepper, and there's tons of health benefits to cayenne pepper as well as supporting your vocal health.
Well, that's why we actually publish. I'm a big supporter of other vocal coaches, and like if you've been to Vendera Publishing, you'll notice like I published James Lugo, who's another amazing rock vocal coach, full voice coach. We got Ray Westbrook coming out. David Katz is a vocal coach as well, though we've just put out his herbal superior vocal health book first. But these type of coaches, and like I said, I don't personally know Ken. I've heard some music from him years ago, but I'm pretty sure he does. We do a lot of the same stuff, which is like true opera technique, from way back when, which has a lot to do with the support to keep that full voice. So I love you can. I mean, when I was studying years ago, I studied every vocal coach, and basically when I came up with my isolation method, which nobody else is doing, or if they are doing it now, it's because they copy what I've been doing. It's because I learned from Jim Gillette or Sabine or Thomas Appel and kind of brought them together. So, we are individual singers, and we do have to learn from other coaches. So that's good. I'm glad you kind of changed. You're taking care of your health. And I was actually going to ask you how you keep your voice healthy, but you basically already told me. So good, and you're practicing every day. So when you're on this cruise, I'm sure you have a lot of fans, and a lot of people are coming up to you and saying, "Wow, it's amazing." Do they ever ask you, can you give me tips on how I can sing better?
Well, after shows, I'm just signing CDs, so I don't really have a lot of time in taking pictures. If you know anything about Chinese people, you know that they love to take pictures, so you'll stand in line for days taking pictures. So I don't really, and honestly, I speak like conversational Chinese, but not fluent enough to really get into like the details of taking care of your voice or vocal techniques and things like that. But I get a lot from my YouTube videos. So I have 2 YouTube channels, actually 3, but 2 main ones. One is my videos where I put out my own music videos, covers, my original songs, and just kind of random stuff as well. And then I have a lessons channel, which I started, people would ask me, oh, what are the chords to that cover song or that original song? And so I thought, oh, okay, I'll just start putting up a video teaching how to play the song on guitar. Then as I started progressing as a singer and feeling like, okay, I'm learning some things about my own voice these are the things that help me. Maybe I should teach them to other people as well, and getting more comments. So I started putting up a few vocal lessons as well.
Well, what's a good tip? What would be like the initial tip you would give a new singer that, just give me one thing, David, help me. What would be the one or two things that you would say, here's how to get you started on a better path?
The first thing, I think the most important thing when you're going to start singing is learning to sing using your diaphragm correctly. Because that's the thing that nobody taught me. I went to like a different vocal coaches, like professional vocal coaches, and they're like, oh, the breathing will just come naturally. No, it doesn't. And they would tell me, oh, like breathe with your stomach or whatever, but that doesn't really just telling somebody, oh, it's belly breathing, it really doesn't do it. You have to actually lock down. You have to learn how to use those muscles in your upper to lower abdomen and lock it down. And that here's another thing that I really like from you, the inhalation method. Yeah. Okay, I've heard this. I've heard this talked about some different ways. Yeah, and so a lot of people talk about, oh, it's like taking a dump and all this kind of stuff. That's not true. I don't think that's a good way of explaining it. I heard lots of people say that, oh, it's like taking a dump. And I was like, I would literally be there on the toilet going, okay, what are they talking about? Taking a dump, this is not working. And then when I heard you say, okay, it's like you're inhaling, it's it's literally like you're inhaling, trying to inhale as you exhale, It's like you feel like you're inhaling as you're actually, singing. And so that made a huge difference. And I think that's the most important thing when you're going to first start singing, because once you've got that, everything else is kind of just practice. You know what I mean?
Well, I've kind of find that's hard for me to teach because, like you said, you do inhale. It's kind of a lower breathing. You got to lock it down. But a lot of singers will ask me, I don't get it, Jaime. Do I got to go, and I'm like, no, you're singing, but the air is so minimal, it actually feels like you're breathing it in. And I think you just got to get it. And it comes in time where one day a switch will flip on, and you're like, I feel it, So, and then it becomes a lot more effortless. So, yeah,
I think it's something, it's difficult to teach, like you said. And so I think a lot of vocal coaches don't focus on it because they're like, no, nobody's going to get this, or I don't know why they don't. But it's something that even as you're progressing, you need to constantly come back to that and go, okay, are you breathing correctly? Okay, do you get it now? The next lesson, okay, are you locking in? You know what I mean? There needs to be a big focus on that because it's so important. That's what takes your voice to the next level.
Well, if I didn't do that, a lot of the TV shows I do, even though it's not a pretty sound, the screaming for the glass breaking, I would probably literally have vocal nodules. I would have lost my voice. I would have damaged my voice. But it literally, I have to really bear down, and I've really got to feel like I'm sucking in the sound. And it's not that I'm forcing it. It happens. When everything's in place and the placement's correct, I feel the buzz in the roof, bam, it falls into place, and I can scream for hours. So and it works for every type of singing. It doesn't matter if you're doing pop, gospel, whatever. It protects your voice. So very good. I'm so glad you got it. I even have professional singers who still haven't got it. They're like, I'm still not figuring out what you're talking about, even though they're singing correctly.
Yes.
So I want to know.
That's definitely one of the first things. The other thing is to practice every day. I think I actually, for a long time, only practiced every other day, and I don't think that's enough.
So do you practice 7 days a week, or do you practice every day?
Okay, 6 days a week.
Okay.
So, and that's only recently. I would say over the last about 6 to 10 months, I've started taking it to 6 days a week, and I've seen just a huge amount of growth. People would know because I actually haven't uploaded that many videos of me singing recently. But the songs that I can sing now, it's wow, I never really thought I'd be able to sing these songs.
Muscular development. That's really why I keep my exercises so simple. I mean, like I said, I love Brett's, and I'm sure Ken's got great stuff, and I do Jim Gillette's scales, but the isolation exercise, just the slides, if you're doing a lot of those definitely, if you do them 6 days a week, you start developing a lot of strength quickly, and all of a sudden, and you'll notice this too, David, because I'm sure you've been sick on the cruise. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you haven't been to this point yet. But now that you're practicing every day, you're gaining range. You're gaining more strength. So you could have a sick day where in the past to be like, oh, here comes that A note. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle it because my throat's sore. But now that you've built up muscle, that A note's so much easier even when you're sick. So that's the whole point of training, you know. So they never know when you're sick, and you're always doing a good performance.
Yeah, if you're singing correctly. Yeah, it used to be I would get sick and literally my voice would be gone. Like, oh, I've got a sore throat, I can't sing. And now it doesn't matter. Like literally, like there hasn't been a time in the last 2 years and I get sick of like traveling intercontinentally often, like different viral and bacterial infections and things like that. And yeah, there's no time when my voice is gone. It's just it doesn't really affect your voice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, really, it's usually above anyway. But the way that we feel it in our throat, we're like, oh, my throat hurts. Well, yes, it does, the pharynx, but it's not the actual cords. So, yeah, we got to kind of sing through the pain, but it's not the infection at the cords. So it makes it, we can sing, but a lot of people just have that mentality. So you mentioned 3 YouTube sites. I actually want to end this interview. I want them to know exactly how to find you. I want you to tell me your website, your Facebook fan page. I want the link. I want to know all 3 YouTube sites so that they can find you. Please, I want people to hear you.
Cool. Well, the best thing to do is just to search my name, and it's my main YouTube channel is just my name, which is youtube.com/David, which is DAVID, DiMuzio, which is DIMUZIO. And you can go to Dave, just search David DIMUZIO on YouTube. And so, I mean, all the lessons channel will come up, the main channel, and everything's the same. Instagram, it's David at David DiMuzio, Twitter at David DiMuzio. I'm lucky I'm one of the only David DiMuzios, so if you punch in anything David DiMuzio, it's gonna be me.
Yeah, I got the kind of same thing with Vendera, boom.
Yeah. Plus you spell Jaime also a little bit differently too, right?
Jaime. So I know when I lived in, I'm not being, it's so funny. I remember this guy. I distinctly remember when I moved to Hollywood and went to MI, to Musicians Institute. That was the first thing they read my name, Jaime Vendera, and the guy looks at me and his words were, "Are you Mexican Italian?" I thought it was.
Are you Italian?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even know. We got so many people in our family, and I think a little bit of Italian on my grandmother's side, but it's so thinned out that some Irish, some Native American. So it's just a bizarre name.
Cool. That's a cool name.
But yeah, Jill, like DiMuzio. Yeah, you remember that. So David, thank you so much. Are you performing tonight, or is it a night off?
No, tonight's a night off. I mean, I'm actually lucky. I got tons of free time, practice time. So I just perform once every 5 days. I do a 45-minute show, and
that is cool. So you get to live on a cruise ship. You get a free bunk. You get free meals, and you get to perform.
And all the Asian girls I can talk to.
Oh, what a life! That's awesome. You're living the dream, and I'm glad your voice is doing well. I'm glad you found your path, and I'm very, very thankful that you did this interview with us.
Hey, this is a pleasure, like to get to talk to you in person. I mean, after watching all of your YouTube videos and and buying all your book and all the lessons, this is really cool. So I was really honored, and you wrote me and you're like, hey, I want to interview you. I was like, really? I want to interview you.
Well, you won't learn much from me. But I just want to continue to interview good singers and let people know, if they're using my stuff and how they benefited. And I want people to hear great singers, and of course you are one of them. So I'm very, very humbled and very, very honored. Singers, thanks for watching this. Again, if you want to find David, just search David DiMuzio on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you will not be disappointed. And I will see you all in the next Singer Spotlight.